Welcome to Retail Pricing Unlocked, the podcast powered by Insight Track. With over 15 years of experience supporting retailers, we share expert insights and strategies to help you turn pricing into a competitive advantage. Now, here's today's episode.
Welcome along. Today, we're going to take a closer look at something every retailer thinks about. Why do some teams just consistently seem to win on the shelf? And maybe more importantly, what does the shelf actually mean these days? Because, it's changed quite a bit. I mean, I'm not just picturing, say, the aisles in Tesco or Sainsbury's. Obviously, they're still vital. But we're also talking about that digital shelf, aren't we? That critical moment on Amazon or Google Shopping, maybe even your own website. It's that split-second thing, do I click your product or do I click the one next to it? And the real core of what we'll unpack, I think, is that it's often not about being the biggest. It's about being, the smartest, having the best data, the clearest view.
Precisely. Yeah, that's spot on. What we're seeing time and again is that the most competitive teams, they're not necessarily the ones shouting the loudest, spending the most on ads. They're the ones, as you put it, who are seeing the clearest. They've moved past just sort of reacting. So our plan today really is to walk you through how connecting that real-time data, and that's everything, pricing, stock, what competitors are up to, how connecting that directly to decisions transforms these teams, takes them from being reactive to, actually leading. And this whole journey, this data maturity people talk about, it maps directly to better sales, winning on that shelf.
That sets things up nicely. So let's start with maybe a common problem, this idea of the visibility gap. It's a real issue for loads of retailers, isn't it? Costing them money, holding back growth. I mean, most retailers, obviously, they know their own prices. That's a given. And some might keep an eye on a few key competitors, maybe get a weekly report or something.
The usual suspect.
Exactly. But actually, surprisingly few have that full picture in real time across all the places customers shop. Prices, promos, stock levels, the works. So the big question is, what happens when those crucial decisions, pricing, promotions, are based more on gut feeling or, data that's already a week old? What's the actual cost?
Oh, the cost is huge. And often it's kind of hidden. If you think about it, relying on last week's numbers, you're already behind instantly. I mean, look at Amazon. They change prices literally millions of times a day. It's staggering.
Millions. Wow.
Yeah. And here in the UK, you've got ASOS, Currys, Argos. They're tweaking promotions midweek all the time. Then you look at marketplaces like eBay or Zalando, things move even quicker there. So that lag, that sort of blind spot, lots of, especially mid-sized UK retailers have, wrestling with weekly Excel sheets, manually pulling data, systems that don't talk to each other. It just means they're constantly playing catch up.
Right. Always reacting, never quite getting ahead.
Exactly. And that lag, that lack of real-time insight, it leads directly to lost opportunities. Proper, tangible ones. You miss out on competitor promotions entirely because they started and finished before you even saw the data.
Ah, okay. Gone before you knew it.
Precisely. Or maybe you underprice something, you drop your price to match a competitor, but actually they were out of stock. You could have held your price, kept that margin.
Ouch. Yeah, that hurts.
It does. And then there's overspending on discounts, kind of training your customers to just wait for the sale, which, eats away at your full price strategy.
Yeah.
And maybe the most frustrating bit, just losing visibility on that shelf, whether it's physical or more likely now digital. Like you said, that 50p difference on Google Shopping. Suddenly you're on page 2, basically invisible.
Yeah, nobody clicks to page 2, do they?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So that battle for attention, it really is won or lost right there. And trying to fight it with yesterday's intel, it's just, it's not going to work long term.
Okay, that paints a clear picture of the problem. A bit daunting, maybe. But what's the answer then? How are the leaders, the ones really succeeding, doing it differently? What are these data-driven teams actually doing to close that visibility gap?
Well, it really boils down to a few sort of fundamental shifts in how they operate. The first big one is real-time competitor monitoring. These teams, they're not waiting for Monday morning's report. Forget that. They've got systems, often quite sophisticated ones, scanning the whole market constantly, daily, sometimes hourly.
Hourly? Really?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So if a major rival cuts the price on a key product at, say, 9 in the morning, these teams can know about it by 9:15, which means they can actually react within minutes if they need to, not days later when it's irrelevant. It's like having eyes absolutely everywhere, all the time.
Right. So it's not just knowing, it's knowing now. That speed.
Right.
That must make a massive difference. But is it just about blindly matching prices then, or is it a bit more clever than that?
Great question. And no, it's definitely more clever. Which brings us neatly to the second key differentiator: integrated product and price performance. You see, just knowing competitor prices, that's only half the story. What the really smart teams do is link that external data, the competitor pricing, with their own internal numbers.
Okay, so connecting the dots.
Exactly. They're looking at sales lift from promotions, they're looking hard at margin performance, current stock levels, how different channels are performing, all of it together. And that integrated view lets them make genuinely informed decisions. They know, for instance, precisely when they could afford to match a competitor's price drop, or actually when it's strategically much smarter to hold their price, protect their margin, maybe because their stock is low, or the competitor's move looks desperate. They've got the full context.
That makes sense. Context is everything.
It really is. And this idea, this capability of integrating performance data, it links perfectly with setting up foundational pricing rules. Think of these rules as your strategic safety net, your guardrails. When you automate based on these rules, you're not losing control, quite the opposite. You're gaining consistency and speed.
Okay, so what kind of rules are we talking about?
Well, common ones you see are things like a margin-first rule. Basically, the system will only react to a competitor's price cut if doing so still keeps the product above a pre-agreed profit threshold. Margin protection is locked in.
Right, non-negotiable.
Exactly. Or maybe a stock-aware rule. Be more aggressive on price. Match competitors more readily when your warehouse is full of that item. Get it moving. But conversely, hold firm, maybe even nudge the price up slightly if stock is really tight. Maximize the profit when you've got limited availability.
Smart, very smart.
These rules stop those reactive knee-jerk price wars and turn pricing into something much more calculated, more strategic. No more discounting just because someone else did.
I like that. It sounds like putting some intelligence behind the speed. So you've got the real-time data, you've got the internal context, you've got the rules. How do you make sure the right people see this at the right time? Is it still about wading through reports?
No, thankfully not. That leads to the next key habit: automated alerts and analytics. Commercial managers, category analysts, they don't need to be drowning in spreadsheets anymore. The goal is proactive insight delivered straight to them.
Okay, so push notifications, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah. Think about setting up specific triggers. Maybe you get an alert instantly if your top 50 bestsellers are undercut by more than, say, 5%.
Right, a critical threshold.
Or you get a notification if a key competitor suddenly runs out of stock in a category where you're strong. That's an opportunity right there. It means the right person gets the right signal at precisely the right moment so they can act fast, strategically, instead of finding out 3 days later buried in row 500 of an Excel export.
Yeah, that saves a huge amount of time and prevents things slipping through the cracks.
Absolutely. It shifts teams from being reactive firefighters to being much more proactive.
And customers, we know they shop everywhere now. Website, app, marketplaces, maybe even physical stores. How does this data-driven approach handle that complexity?
That's crucial. It has to extend to clear visibility across all retail channels. Customers fundamentally expect consistency. They don't really distinguish between your Amazon price and your website price in their head, but they will notice if they're wildly different. And that erodes trust, doesn't it?
Definitely. Looks messy.
It does. So these data-driven teams, they meticulously track their pricing and stock, not just by product, but across all their channels, their own direct-to-consumer site, DTC, marketplaces like Amazon or eBay, maybe even key retail partners if they have them.
Yeah.
That clarity prevents those embarrassing inconsistencies and helps them present a unified front, building that customer confidence across every shelf.
Okay, so consistency is key there.
And all of this, the real-time data, the integrated view, the rules, the alerts, the channel visibility, it all feeds into the final and maybe most impactful habit: faster decision cycles. Look, at the end of the day, speed wins market share in retail now. It just does. When your data is reliable, when your processes have that automation baked in, when you have those clear alerts, you just don't spend 3 days in meetings debating a competitor's price move.
You just act.
You act. And often, the action isn't some huge dramatic shift. It might be tweaking a price by just 2%, or running a targeted flash promo for 24 hours on a specific line, or maybe strategically shifting some ad budget towards SKUs where you know you're in stock and key competitors aren't. Small, smart moves. That agility, that ability to make quick, informed adjustments is what transforms teams from constantly putting out fires to actually leading and shaping their bit of the market.
But just playing devil's advocate for a second,
Mm.
isn't there a risk in moving too fast? Especially for, say, a mid-sized retailer where a wrong move could really hurt. How do they balance that speed with being careful?
That's a really important point. And the answer is it's not about blind speed. It's about informed speed. Those foundational pricing rules we talked about, they are absolutely critical here. They act as the guardrails, the safety net.
Ah, okay. So the rules prevent rash decisions.
Exactly. You're not making snap decisions based purely on panic or emotion because a competitor did something. You're acting quickly, yes, but within predefined strategic boundaries that you've already decided make sense for your business. The data gives you the confidence to move because you already know the potential impact on your margin, on your stock, has been factored into the rule itself. It's about being nimble, definitely, but not reckless.
That makes perfect sense. Strategic agility, not just trigger-happy reactions. Okay, let's make this really concrete. You mentioned UK retailers. Do you have an example of this working in practice here?
Yes, absolutely. There's a great case involving a well-known UK music retailer. They were really losing ground on Google Shopping, just getting hammered.
Okay, what was going wrong?
Well, their competitors were just much more aggressive, much sharper on pricing for key instruments and equipment. And as a result, this retailer's own ads often weren't even showing up for some of their most important product categories.
So invisible on that digital shelf again.
Exactly. The core problem wasn't their products. They had great gear. It was their visibility, their positioning online. So what they did was bring in real-time pricing intelligence, and they used it to directly inform their Google Shopping vids. So if the data showed their price on a particular guitar amp was, say, 10% higher than the key competitors who were in stock.
They wouldn't waste money bidding high on ads for it.
Precisely. They stopped overspending on clicks where they simply weren't competitive at that moment. But, crucially, they then focused their ad spend, pushed harder on the SKUs, where the data showed they did have an edge, maybe better price, better availability.
Smart reallocation.
Very. And the results were pretty stark. They saw a 48% increase in their Google Shopping ad visibility, getting seen far more often. And importantly, a 31% uplift in conversions from those ads.
Wow, 48% and 31%? That's not trivial. That's real impact.
That's tangible shelf power, right there in the numbers, turning data into sales.
And is this sort of thing only really possible for the huge players, or can smaller, mid-sized UK retailers actually do this too?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, sometimes the mid-sized guys have an advantage. They can often be more flexible, nimbler. Think about it. Implementing new rules-based automation, often faster without layers of corporate bureaucracy. Responding to a competitor move. They can potentially do it in hours, not days or weeks.
Less red tape.
Less red tape, exactly. They can launch targeted promotions much more quickly. And I've genuinely seen mid-market teams do really clever things, like spotting a competitor's stock out on a key item and using that window to slightly raise their own price.
Really? Raise it?
Yeah, just nudge it up a bit. They protect their margin while still getting the sale because for that brief period, they might be the only ones who can actually fulfill the order. That's a smart strategic move that a bigger, slower company with complex sign-off procedures might totally miss.
That's fascinating. Using competitor weakness to boost your own margin.
Exactly. And this idea of being nimble also seems to be influencing who they partner with. We're seeing a definite trend, actually, where UK retailers are increasingly choosing UK-based partners for things like price intelligence software and services.
Oh, interesting. Why is that? More than just buying British.
Definitely practical reasons. Think about real-time collaboration. If you need urgent support or want to quickly brainstorm a pricing strategy change, being in the same time zone makes a massive difference. No waiting overnight for an email reply.
Yeah, fair point. Gets things done faster.
It does. Plus, there's often a deeper, more ingrained understanding of the local market nuances. You know, the specific promotional cycles here, how VAT works properly, familiarity with retailers like Argos or B&Q or whoever their specific competitors are.
That local knowledge matters.
It really does. And perhaps underpinning it all is just clearer communication. Fewer misunderstandings, especially when you're dealing with complex logic around pricing rules or data integration. It just smooths the process, leads to faster, better outcomes. All of those factors, same time zone, local know-how, clear comms, they all remove friction and contribute to maintaining that competitive edge.
That makes a lot of sense. Local expertise driving agility. Okay, so let's imagine someone listening is thinking, right, this sounds powerful, but honestly, we're still kind of stuck in spreadsheet land. This feels like a mountain to climb.
Yeah.
Where do you even start? What are the first practical steps to becoming more data-driven?
Good question. And the good news is you really don't have to boil the ocean overnight. You can start small, build momentum. First step. I'd say automate competitor monitoring. Seriously, even if it's just for your top 50 or top 100 products to begin with, that alone will save hours of manual work and start catching opportunities you're currently missing.
Okay, so start focused, automate the basic.
Exactly. Second, integrate performance data. Don't look at competitor prices in a vacuum. Connect that data with your own internal numbers. Stock levels, margin, sales velocity, promotions. Context is king. Decisions without that context are just educated guesses, at best.
Right, connect the dots internally.
Third, set up alerts and triggers for the things that really matter. Don't try to monitor everything all at once initially. Decide what your critical windows are. Is it your top hero products? Is it a specific category that drives huge margin? Set up alerts for those so you get notified proactively when something needs attention.
Be selective with the alerts to avoid noise.
Precisely. And finally, and this is crucial, train for insight, not just access. Giving people a new tool isn't enough. You need to invest in training, in enablement, so your commercial teams, your analysts, actually understand how to interpret the data, trust it, and act on it with confidence.
So empower the team to use the tools effectively.
Couldn't have put it better. Tools are only as good as the people using them.
Makes sense. Start small, connect the data, set smart alerts, and empower your people. Seems like a manageable path.
Absolutely. So just to pull it all together, the core reasons these data-driven teams win out on the shelf, they're pretty clear now, aren't they? They see the market clearly in real time. They connect that outside view with their own inside performance. And crucially, they act faster and smarter than the competition. And right there at the shelf, physical or digital, where customers make those split-second choices, that speed, that clarity, well, it's everything really. It's about being informed, decisive, not just busy.
And maybe a final thought to leave everyone with, you really don't need to be Amazon to get this kind of advantage, do you?
Not at all.
With the right approach, the right tools, maybe the right local partners, even mid-sized UK retailers can absolutely outmaneuver the bigger players. Be sharper, be quicker, be more connected. This really is an opportunity, isn't it? A chance to lead, to turn data into your own genuine competitive edge. Well, thank you for joining us today for this exploration into data-driven retail. Hopefully, that's given you some food for thought. Until next time, perhaps consider what's the first step you could take to turn data into your own advantage on the shelf. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Retail Pricing Unlocked, brought to you by InsightTrack. For more resources, case studies, and expert support, visit insighttrack.com. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and join us again next week.